Hey there and welcome back. In this video we will start to do all the authorization, all the code and logic to handle when a user logs in, registers and logs in, because we want to protect some of our routes so that it might be desirable that you cannot delete or create or update maybe products if you're not logged in. So you can only read, you can only get a list if you are not logged in. So we want to create some authorization logic in our backend API here. And we can see we had this auth controller in the architecture diagram, and we haven't done this yet. So let's get started. I have some code, boilerplate code that we will use based on the product controller, but let's start to make a new file here. Auth controller ts, and so it's going to be a new controller. And I'm going to input this boilerplate code. It is much like what we had in product controller. We're using a function with a request and response, and then we have this try and catch finally that we also used in the product controller to handle if we have an error, closing the database in finally, and so on and so forth. What we can see in the imports, we have some imports that are similar to the product controller. We have request response, we have our user model instead of the product model. We also have the connect and disconnect from the repository, but we also need something more. We need something to help us to authorize, and we're going to use JSON Web Tokens. And I think actually I have the website here for JSON Web Token. This is an open industry standard for representing claims. We can send these tokens, generate them based on data that we provide, and then we can send this encoded token back and forth between the backend and the front end. So that is one thing that we also need to import this npm module to have this feature. Then we're going to use bcrypt, and bcrypt we will use to hash the password. And we need to do this because when a user types in their password, we don't want to save this in the database in clear text, because if a hacker gains access to the database, it's pretty bad that they can inspect the passwords directly in clear text. So this is more or less is industry standard procedure to handle passwords, that you will encrypt them, you will make them unreadable when you save them in a database, and the bcrypt is one algorithms that will do this one-way hashing, so that you can save this hash that is unreadable in the database, and you can verify your users' passwords. So you can go read more on this if you want to. So that's why we have bcrypt as well. I have created a new function, register user, that has this boilerplate code, and we can see here I have written some comments here about the steps we need to take to do this. So we need first off to validate the user and password info. We need to check if the information that the user has provided to the API is valid, because if it's not, we can just return from this function and report an error message. Then we need to check if the email is already registered, because if it is, we will also report back that you cannot use the same email again. Then we will hash the password, we will create a user and save it in the database. Okay, so to keep the videos down in length, I'm going to chop them up a little bit. So I'm going to stop the video here, and then the next video we will start to do this this validation function that we will use for the register and also the login. So stay tuned for the next video where we will start to code that. Hope you make this work and have fun. Bye-bye.